Welcome to the College Admissions Collaborative highlighting engineering and technology virtual college fair. Thank you for joining us. You can use the Q&A on your screen to type your questions to our presenters at any time. Your camera and microphone are off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you. This is just one of many different sessions happening, so be sure to sign up for additional sessions. And this presentation is being recorded and will be available within about a week at strivescan.com/CACHET. And now I'd like to turn it over to our presenter from Tufts University. Take it away.
So hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me tonight. At least it's tonight on the East Coast. I am going to get us started with a lovely PowerPoint. Who doesn't love yet another PowerPoint? I imagine you have already sat through many of these, so I will do my best to maybe keep it entertaining or exciting, or maybe that's a too high bar, but we will see where we go. So my friends, welcome to the Tufts session. My name is Becky Stiles. I use the She series. I am an associate director of undergrad admissions at Tufts. I specialize specifically in recruitment for our STEM programs and our School of Engineering. I'm also a Tufts alum. I graduated in 2012. I studied architecture, environmental studies, and I also accidentally minored in art history because that is a thing you can do in college, especially like a school like Tufts. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you the spiel about Tufts. Feel free to think about questions that you have and put it in the Q&A for now, since I'm kind of going to just go through these slides. If you could wait till the end to maybe put them in the Q&A, that would be really helpful to me. Otherwise, if I'm not answering them between now and then, that is why, because I get distracted very easily, and I hope that many of you out there can relate to that. So please try and hold it off to the end so I don't have an orange light blinking at me for 40 minutes. Okay, so hello, this is Tufts. This is a picture of one of our main green areas uphill. We are on a giant hill. You will get very strong calf muscles. We are only about 4 miles outside of Boston, Massachusetts, which is that city that you see off in the distance there. Look, I'm pointing like, oh, it's out a window, but yes, that is Boston, 4 miles away. On our campus, we have about 5,600 undergraduate students, so we are considered a mid-sized institution. We are both a Tier 1 research institution and a liberal arts college. So you're really getting the best of both worlds there and getting an experience that is very much focused on undergraduates, but also allows you to do a lot in the way of research. So this is our main undergraduate campus in Medford and Somerville, Massachusetts. Yes, it actually does span 2 city limits. But before we dive into the main campus, I do want to talk about other campuses that we have so you can kind of understand the broader Tufts network and what resources would be available to you as a Tufts undergraduate. So of the 5 campuses, in the upper left-hand corner, you see one of our buildings. Honestly, I don't know why we use this picture. It's just like generic brick college building. But this is East Hall. It's where the English department and history departments are on that main academic quad uphill. But for the other campuses, in the upper right-hand corner, you can see an artsy shot of our fine art school. It's called the School of the Museum of Fine Arts, and it's about 4 miles away from our main undergrad campus in Medford and Somerville. And that campus houses about 250 to 300 undergraduate students pursuing Bachelor of Fine Arts degrees. Then on the lower left-hand side, you're going to see our kind of like graduate sciences hub in downtown Boston and Chinatown. We have a full medical school, dental school, graduate school, biomedical sciences, and the Friedman School of Nutrition. And that is only about a 30-minute subway ride from the main undergrad campus, so very close by. And then a little bit further out is like the cows would suggest, because they are not just grazing in a barn like in the middle of Boston. We have our Grafton campus. That's about 40 miles outside of Boston, and that is home to our Cummings School of Veterinary Medicine, which is a graduate level program. And then the 5th one, got to save the best one for last, right? We randomly have a campus in the south of France. So fun. It is in Talloires. It is our Tufts European Center, and it is primarily used as a study abroad option for our students. It's a 6-week study abroad option. It's especially popular with our engineers, so you can squeeze in study abroad if you don't necessarily want to go away for a full semester. And you take 2 classes taught by Tufts professors for Tufts credit. You don't need to know French, although if you you know French, like great, take some French classes while you're there. I chose this as my study abroad option because I was one of those people who really wanted to stay on campus for all 8 semesters, but I still wanted to get a taste of that study abroad life. And I ended up taking an art history class and a civil engineering class. The Talwar location is awesome because for my civil engineering class, we literally just drove one day to Geneva, Switzerland, which is only an hour from Talwar. We went to the World Health Organization and talked about different technologies and their impact on different environmental programs and technologies around the world. And it very much related to exactly what we were doing in class. So that was super cool. But let's go back to Medford and Somerville. I promise that even though there's no mountains in Medford and Somerville, like one we're on a hill too, I think that it is just as pretty. We do have 3 main undergraduate colleges at Tufts. The first is a School of Arts and Sciences. So of our 5,600 undergrads, the majority of our students are pursuing degrees in A&S, which is Arts and Sciences. Then we do have a full School of Engineering, which is about 900 students total. And again, we also have that fine arts program. I think that the really nice thing about a place like Tufts, as I already mentioned, we're a research university, we're a liberal arts college, but we're also a place that is very much dedicated to interdisciplinary learning and collaboration. This is a place where while you might be in one of, well, you will be in one of these 3 schools, you can still take classes outside of your major and outside of your school. So if you are someone who ends up being a religion major, but you're just really excited about electrical engineering, take double E classes. Or if you're a mechanical engineer that has a soft spot for poli-sci, take poli-sci classes, go to special speaker series when Ayanna Presley is coming to campus. You can absolutely do that. And we really encourage our students to have a more holistic understanding of the world, because that's very much going to make you a better person, a better scientist, a better engineer, a better whatever you want to be. So I want to do a little bit of a deeper dive for each of our programs. So as I mentioned, Arts and Sciences, or A&S, is our largest program when you're looking at how students are pursuing their actual majors. In the School of Arts and Sciences, students are pursuing everything from the humanities, like anthropology, classical studies, et cetera, to the hard sciences like chemistry, biochemistry, to the social sciences like psychology. There's an incredibly wide range of majors, over 90 majors, and many more minors are very much available to students. And the nice thing about Tufts is that we recognize that it's a kind of a big decision when you're 16, starting to think about college, and then 17 when you decide on a place to go, to actually think about declaring a major with maybe not knowing exactly what it is you want to do. For us, every single student comes to Tufts their first year undecided. Even if you're an engineer, you have time to explore, you have time to take classes and talk to professors and upper class students to really figure out different ways that you can apply your learning, or spaces where you can exist as a professional, and then make a really informed decision about what it is that you ultimately want to do. And at the end of the day, your major isn't necessarily tied to what you ultimately do, right? Like, I studied architecture, hello, I work in admissions, I used to be a 4th grade teacher. There's like a million and one ways to kind of take your degree after it. I think whatever you study, just be excited and into and okay, and like being okay with maybe failing sometimes, because you learn from failure and moving forward. So for us, all about that exploration. We give you a pre-major advisor from the get-go, and they are a faculty member who is specifically trained to help you figure out the path that you may want to take in college. So for us, we just want you to enter excited and like ready to go, and we'll help you find your way. For arts and sciences specifically, you have 2 years to declare your major. So it's like an exciting big thing at the end of sophomore year when you actually get to declare your major. Typically, a major is only 10 to 12 classes. And at a school like Tufts, you're probably going to take between 34 to 36 classes. So that leaves a lot of room for experimentation. You know, if you've never taken a colonialism studies class, or you've never taken a chemical engineering class, go forth, take those classes, and figure out if that's something that you maybe want to pursue. Double majors, super common here. Triple majors, also more common than you think. About a third of our students end up double majoring, and most students on our campus do end up declaring a minor in something. And like I said, I accidentally minored. That's because a minor at Tufts is like 5 or 6 classes. I took 5 classes with the same professor because I just love Armenian art and architecture, and she's a specialist in that area. So my advisor senior year was like, sign this piece of paper and you have a minor. And I was like, yay, a minor. So again, do what you would like. So for engineering, as I mentioned, we have 900 undergraduate students. 44% of our students in our School of Engineering do identify as women, with the first through third year classes consisting closer to 50% women. So for us, when we are looking at diversity of students, not only related to gender, but also to race and ethnicity, spirituality, geography, there is tremendous diversity that lives within our School of Engineering, despite it being a smaller program. But the cool thing about it being a smaller program, again, as a tier 1 research university, is that you're getting the benefits of a small program where you know your classmates, your professors know your name very quickly and readily. Like, you're able to develop those very strong relationships. But if you're someone who wants to work with a top level researcher like David Kaplan, who is literally known internationally for the work that he does engineering silk proteins, you can do that. That is open and available to you. For our School of Engineering, our students are super collaborative. They're just nice. I mean, any tough students are really, but I really appreciate how it kind of goes in and fits really well with how we're thinking about engineering in a really socially conscious, really collaborative, really how can we make the world better attitude. So our program is project-based from day one. So engineers, as I mentioned, still enter our programs undecided. Engineers have a full year to decide what they want to do, just because there's a few more requirements in engineering, especially since the majority of our programs, we have 17 different majors, are ABET accredited. So you're fitting in a lot in a short amount of time. Every single first-year student, their first semester, takes what we call our EN1 class. And essentially that's a set of 10 to 12 classes taught by one professor who shares their specific area of interest. So if you're interested in, say, chemical engineering, you would take a class taught by a chemical engineering professor. This past year, the class was on coffee engineering. So you went in depth into all of the chemical properties of coffee and how that related more broadly to different Chem-E projects. There's also a class that I love that's taught by Chris Rogers in our MECI department called literally How to Make Stuff. So if you're someone who wants to play around with different stuff in our Braid lab, so thinking 3D printers, if you're really into laser cutting, whatever, like go forth, you would learn how to use the actual tools that you would be leaning into for the entirety of your 4 years at Tufts. And all of our seniors also do a senior design project. So that is the culmination. You are applying your learning, what you are doing, to a project of your design. One of my senior fellows right now, Nina, who I actually admitted 4 years ago, and now she's graduating, which is wild. She is thriving. But Nina is specifically working on inhalable therapeutics as they relate to the COVID vaccine. She's been working on that for a year and a half now. And as I mentioned, very socially conscious, our engineers, we want them to understand that what they do very much impacts everything around them. For us, all of our engineers have to take 8 classes, which we call our HASS courses, Humanities, Art, Social Sciences courses, in our School of Arts and Sciences. So what that means is we have engineers who come in and say, well, I want to double major with sociology. I want to double major with music. I want to double major with XYZ. And you can absolutely do that. That is very much open to you. The 2 most popular minors for our engineers are Spanish and entrepreneurship. And then, of course, our last of our 3 undergrad colleges, we have our SMFA at Tufts, our School of the Museum of Fine Arts, which again is a full fine arts program. We are the only tier 1 research university with a full studio art program. And even as an engineer, even as a chemist on our campus, you can absolutely take advantage of everything that the SMFA offers. There's a shuttle that runs between the main undergrad campus, which is where the School of Engineering and School of Arts and Sciences is, campuses across the river 4 miles away to where our school, the Museum of Fine Arts, is. I think that there's really cool overlap that exists between art and science and engineering, and many of our students will end up taking classes in welding and apply it to what they're doing in the world of chemical or biological engineering. We even have classes co-taught by art professors and engineering professors. One of my very favorites is a class on biomimicry. So essentially using nature's inspiration for whatever you end up designing, co-taught by a sculpture professor and a mechanical engineering professor. So like very cool stuff. And research is, again, very much a big part of what we do. I said like 5 times that we are a research university. So what that means for you is that if you are someone who wants to get your hands into doing projects, you can do that very immediately. Students in their very first year can and do research with faculty on our campus. Some of them end up working with the same faculty member for all 4 years or plus years if they end up doing graduate degrees with us. Some students pop around from lab to lab or project to project to really figure out exactly what it is they want to do. But we very much encourage our students, if they're interested, to reach out to professors and say, hey, you're doing cool stuff. Can I do cool stuff with you? And our professors are nice humans who are just that human. Like, they're not scary, I promise. You can reach out to them and just say, hey, can I do this? And 9 out of 10 times, they are absolutely going to want to have you on board. And the nice thing also about how we model research is that, similar to overall programs at Tufts, you're never barred from participating in research that is outside of your major. One of my favorite environmental engineers who just graduated, he was very interested in political science and the mass movement of peoples through his home country of Macedonia. So he partnered with the Institute of Global Leadership, or IGL, on our campus to do specific research on how people moved through Macedonia and how the mass movement of those refugee populations were directly tied to the policies that the government was putting forth and enacting on its people. But then we also have people like Greg, who's a chemical engineer, and he's just like, I want to figure out how to like stop tumor growth. So he's all about like inserting different molecules into the body that can affect your protein knots. So like, again, there's a whole array of what you can actually do. And at Tufts, you're not just limited to doing research in one specific area. 60% of our students do end up doing research by the time they graduate. We have funding through summer scholars. We have cool programs like Laidlaw Scholars. Our Center for STEM Diversity has a lot of specific scholarship programs, especially for our underrepresented students in STEM, specifically for our first generation of college students, our low income students, undocumented students, women. They have so many specific monies, like grant monies, coming in to help our students really thrive in whatever they choose to thrive in. And I will mention quickly before I talk about student life that if you're listening to that and you're like, yeah, but I still want a job, like internships. Yes, of course we have internships. We're 4 miles outside of Boston. We're building a brand new, the state of Massachusetts is building a brand new subway stop on campus that is also going to be in our brand new computer science, data science building. So it's going to be even easier to get into the city. 90% of Tufts students do an internship by the time they graduate, and over half of them do 2 or more. I did 2 internships my senior year, very easy to balance, very easy to get a lot of help from our career center and also my professor. So just know, beyond research, you can absolutely do internships as well. But of course, you are not just a person in a lab or in a study group, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You are a human who wants friends. You want to enjoy your time in college. So let's talk about life at Tufts. So as I mentioned, we're 4 miles outside of Boston, but we do have the feel of a more traditional New England college campus. There is literally always something happening, whether it's a culture show. One of my favorites is Parade of Nations, or you want to go support your friends at a dance show. Envy is the all-female step group. They are awesome. I mean, Blackout is also good. They're the men's group, but I'm a little bit biased for the women's group. And then we also have fun things like a mime troupe on campus. We have a really cool community day that invites people from outside of Tufts, so from Medford and Somerville, to campus to hang out with us, do fun activities, all run by students. We also have a carnival. We have a spring concert series. Of course, it's looked a little bit different this year with COVID, but we're hoping to get back to all of those fun gatherings as soon as we can. And here are some images from around campus. So in the upper right-hand corner, this is one of our residence halls for first-year students. You do live on campus with other first years your very first year, and then you still live on campus your sophomore year. After sophomore year, you can decide if you want to live on campus or off campus. For us, when we say off campus, you're like a block away from your academic buildings. You might actually be closer to some of your academic buildings living off campus than living on campus. So there is kind of this fluid perimeter around campus that people permeate, and around the perimeter, it's really all of those houses are undergrads living in them. We do also have specialty housing. So if you are someone who wants to live in a themed house, that is absolutely something you can do. In most of our identity-based centers, there are houses attached to them as well. So like the Rainbow House for the LGBT Center, Capen House for the Africana Center, there are many options kind of tucked all around campus. For food, because that's important, you want to be well fed in college. We are consistently ranked as one of the best schools for food. So for us, we have two main dining halls, Carmichael and DeWitt. There is a rivalry, like a fierce rivalry between them. They serve essentially the same food, but like a rivalry still exists, because of course a rivalry still exists. I'm Team Carmichael, which is not the majority opinion, but it's also a residence hall, and I lived there for a year, so maybe that's why I'm partial to it. But food is yummy. It is in buffet style. There's always something delicious to eat. There's waffle makers, so if you just want waffles at 11 p.m., live your best waffle life. We have full Sunday bars for Sunday every Sunday, obviously. We have really yummy stir fry night in Carm, super good. We have an area in DeWitt that is always free of the 8 most common allergens, and we have a dietitian on staff if any of you have any food allergies. So just know you'll be very well fed. And my favorite Instagram account from Tufts, I think it's called like Tasting Tufts. It's run by an anonymous student, and it's so cute, and like they just go around and rate food, and I love it. For extracurriculars, honestly, very similar to many other colleges that you've heard talk, we have so many. Like we have over 300 because again, we have about 5,600 undergrads, so a lot of different interests. If you are someone who wants to be involved in student government, we have our TCU Senate, which is our Tufts Community Union Senate, and they manage a multi-million-dollar budget every year. If you're someone who wants to be in theater, also this picture is very old, Hillary in the blue dress. She graduated in 2010, but I mean, a classic tale, isn't that? It's like, I feel like with admissions, we always use the same pictures year after year after year. So I see many people, like we've already passed 3 people, and I was like, oh, they were my class year. Okay, anyway, so extracurriculars, 300 plus, you can do what you want to do. I was actually in theater, that's why I know Hillary, and it's fun. If anyone wants to ask theater questions, feel free to put those in the chat. I did that for all 4 years, and I also worked in the admissions office at the front desk. But again, we have everything like Student Go. We have a nationally ranked Model UN or mock trial team. We have an awesome ethics bowl. We have way too many a cappella groups. It's like 8 or 9 at this point. Like one of them inspired the Warblers for Glee, and I think helped with their soundtracks. There's a billion and one of them, folks, so get involved. We also have a log cabin in northern New Hampshire, so if you're an outdoorsy type, feel free, very close by, free to use. A lot of people will carpool up there, especially if you're in the Tufts Mountain Club, very easy to get to. We also are a D3 school. So for athletics, we have 29 varsity teams. We do also have club and intramural teams that have been able to play a little bit this spring as COVID restrictions have lifted a bit and students have been really great about following protocols. And our largest student organization, actually in the bottom right, is our Leonard Carmichael Society, which is our community service organization. So Tufts kids are very globally minded, but also very civically engaged. And I think that really is highlighted by the fact that Leonard Carmichael Society is our largest student org on campus. So the campus vibe, people are nice, people are down to earth. We never have a 24-hour period in our library because hello, you must sleep, you must have a life, like you can't be all academics all the time. We really do take our work incredibly seriously, and we have people do really phenomenal things, but we're not taking ourselves seriously at the same time. Because again, it's all about that balance. We want you to do incredible things and feel supported and celebrated. And yeah, we just want you to do it all, my friends. You're going to thrive wherever you go. Okay, admissions and financial aid. So we literally just released decisions for the class of 2025 yesterday. like almost 24 hours ago on the dot. So I feel like I am in a very much admissions mindset. So let's talk about it. So for Tufts, when we're talking, and this is applicable honestly to any highly selective school that does holistic admissions review, we really break it down into two big categories. We have data and we have voice. Data is your high school transcript. So digging into a lot of things related to your classes, the rigor of those classes and how well you've done in those classes. English language test scores, if applicable. So if you have not attended a school where the primary language of instruction is English for at least 3 years, then you would need to take an English language test. That usually only applies to our international friends. And we are test optional. We were test optional this past year and will be test optional for folks applying to our class of 2026 and 2027. So for the next 2 years. I will say for students who think of applying to Tufts and schools like Tufts, you all know you can do the work. You know that you've done well, you know that you can challenge yourself and take advantage of resources to really excel. So when we're looking at data, especially the high school transcript, 80% of our applicants, we had 31,000 this year, 80% of them can do the work. Like they get that check, like, yep, you can academically thrive at Tufts. So for us, the majority of our job as admissions officers is actually on that voice part. So I'm talking about your personal statement. I'm talking about your Tufts specific questions, your extracurricular activities, and your letters of recommendation. For those letters, Tufts does just require 1 letter of recommendation from a teacher and 1 letter from your school counselor. We also recognize that many other schools that you'll ultimately apply to will require 2 teacher letters and 1 counselor letter. We'll just read them all. So just send it to us. It's easier when you're going on the Common App and doing all that fun stuff. And then we also have different portfolios and optional pieces. So if you are someone who feels really excited by your art and you want to share that with me, please share it. You can submit an art portfolio and we can check it out. And a team member from the SMFA staff will look at it and tell us what it is and how it is. And a maker portfolio is also optional. So if you are a tinkerer or you're someone who does really cool projects and you want to share that with us, you can do that in the maker portfolio and it will be evaluated by a current Tufts senior engineer. For example, we have had students submit things like videos of their piano playing robot, or what was one of my favorite ones like 2 years ago? Oh, someone's parents were really nice and let him change the family garage into a blacksmithing forge. So he submitted like 1, the forge that he built, and 2, all of the things that he had built in said forge. So there's a huge range of things that you can submit. So just know that, yes, if you want to submit something that is a project through images or videos, so something that's harder to express through writing, you do have that option with your application. And then for an alumni interview, totally optional. Most of you are juniors, so it's like so early to even think about that. But just know for Tufts, like it's optional. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. Optional for us is not code for secretly required. Like it is truly, truly, truly optional. And our admissions process for students, whether you're applying to arts and sciences or engineering, is exactly the same. We have no special requirements for students applying to our School of Engineering. Yes, we're going to be a little bit more in the weeds when looking at your math and science curriculum in high school, but there are no set requirements that distinguish our engineering applicants from arts and sciences students. And then before I pivot to questions for you all, something really important, because money, college is expensive, financial aid, we do meet 100% of the full demonstrated need of all admitted students, regardless of your citizenship status. So that includes international friends, undocumented, documented, domestic US citizen friends. Everyone is getting full demonstrated need. What that actually means is when you fill out some super fun paperwork over the coming year, you are going to have a number pop out called the EFC, or the expected family contribution. What we will do is take that number, subtract it from the total cost of attendance, which for Tufts is $80,000, and whatever's left over is your financial need. If your family makes less than $60,000, your expected family contribution is 0, meaning we subtract that from 80,000, so your financial need is $80,000. So that will mostly be grant money that you do not have to pay back, and we do cap loans. So if you get any loan monies, just know that it'll be capped every year, so it's not going to go up from like $5,000 to $50,000 from your first to second year. We cap it to make sure it's manageable. The average indebtedness of Tufts students upon graduation is $18,000. I personally chose Tufts because of the financial aid package. It was cheaper for me to go to Tufts than to go to my local state school, which is certainly not going to be true for everyone depending on your family and your revenue streams. But oh my God, I can't believe I just said revenue streams. Oh my goodness, I used to LOL at people who said things like that. But just know, whatever money is coming in, it looks different for everybody. So I do recommend, many schools have something called, well, all schools you're applying to should have the net price calculator. You and your families, when you start to narrow down a list of schools that you're really excited about, I really recommend that you go to the net price calculator, check it out, put things in there and see what the cost of attendance might look like. Tufts, Wellesley, Chicago, a handful of other schools also have a really cool thing called My Intuition, which is much easier to use. The net price calculator asks a lot of information, but My Intuition is a little bit quicker, and it'll give you 3 tiers of what your financial aid package might come to. So like a conservative tier, one that's a little bit more like, oh, like maybe you're not going to get as much, and like one like dream tier of what you might get. So I'd highly recommend poke around. We're also here to answer questions about financial aid because it's a really important thing beyond fit. You know, finances are a part of that fit for sure. But again, before I turn to questions, we have awesome things online for you. I know because I have written some of them. So check it out. Go to our website, admissions.tufts.edu. Go to the engineering section. Me and Pamela have worked so hard to make videos for you. There's really amazing engineers here who just want to talk to you and get to know you. So student contact info is also on our website, because I might be an alum, but I graduated a long time ago. So students now are going to know things much better. So please, please don't hesitate to reach out to students. Also follow us on Instagram. We're going to be doing a lot on that Instagram handle for our class of 25, including live content like Q&As and tours. We're going to do an engineering tour in like 2 or 3 weeks. Please feel free to check that out. Like, that content is for everyone. It's going to be really fun. It's with my senior fellows. They're really funny humans. So like, please feel free. And then the same chat, because we use it all the time. Okay, friends, I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to take a sip of water because I just talked for way more than I've talked all day. So if you have questions, please put them in the little chat and I will go through them. Words are hard. Okay, so Jaren asked, what % of first-year students in STEM do research? So it really does depend by major, and I don't even think that we break out that specific percentage, but just know, if you are someone who wants to do research as a STEM student, you will be able to do research as a STEM student, okay? Like, literally all that it takes is just talking to a professor, emailing a professor, like literally cold emailing a professor, talking to them, and hopefully they will say, hey, yeah, we'd like you to join. Emma, clarification, can we send 2 teacher recommendations if we have them and are sending them through things such as the Common App? Absolutely. So if you have 2 ready to rock and roll through Common App or Coalition, you can absolutely send those to us, and I will read both of them. Ooh, Kimberly asked, do you anticipate campus being open this summer for visitors? So we just had a town hall meeting this morning, and by the sound of it, I don't think that we will be open for visitors. We have an awesome virtual tour series that is led live by current students, so I'd recommend checking that out. Some of our overzealous students I know have also been like talking back and forth with current Tufts students, and like those students will like FaceTime them around campus. So, you know, look at our website, see what's going on there, and who knows like what friends you might make in the process. Sarah asked a good question. So does Tufts offer merit scholarships? No. So since we offer full demonstrated need for all of our students, we do not offer merit scholarships. So for other schools that just have merit scholarships, they don't need to meet your full need necessarily. They can also go way above your full need. So for example, if you are applying to your state school, I'm from New Hampshire, so I'll use University of New Hampshire, UNH, as an example. I applied to UNH, and maybe they gave me $30,000 in merit aid, but I needed $60,000 to make it happen. there is a gap there. But Tufts, because they need to meet my full need, I know that I would get the $60,000 if admitted. But some of my friends who applied to UNH, maybe they needed $60,000 as well, but they got merit packages for $70,000, you know? So merit aid is not necessarily tied to what you need to go to a particular institution. So that's why it's also really important to apply to a variety of schools, some that have merit aid and others like Tufts that meet 100% of your full demonstrated need. And there's about 70 to 80 of us in the United States that meet full demonstrated need. Sorry, I know it's also really confusing because college, we try to make it easy, but it's like, no, this jargon that you only need to know once. Okay, Jane, does Tufts accept letters from people in addition to teachers such as mentors or coaches? Yes, but be thoughtful in who you are asking. I get kids who literally will send me letters of recommendation from like their dentist, and they're like, yes, they show up for their annual cleaning, or I guess every 6-month cleaning, or like, you know, just like be mindful. Okay, if it's a coach or a mentor, they sound like a good person to ask for an additional letter, but just be thoughtful. Could you please, oh, pre-health. Oh, good question, Danielle. Okay, so for pre-health, we have so many things. So we have full pre-vet, we have pre-dental, and we have pre-med. And remember from the very, very beginning, we actually have all 3 of those grad programs. We have a vet school, a dental school, and a medical school. We have early assurance to each of those programs. So if you are someone who wants to apply your sophomore year to our medical school, you can do that and know without taking the MCAT that you will be in that program. We also have a very robust advising dean panel thing. What are they called? Advising dean office. There we go. It's 8:36 on the East Coast. It's like, if any of you are international, like kudos to you for being here right now. But for pre-health programs, there are awesome advisors, and the advising services of Tufts for pre-health programs are open to everyone, including alumni. So if you end up leaving Tufts and you're 25 after working in like a nonprofit for 5 years and you're like, oh, like now I want to go to med school, just come back to Tufts and we will give you the same exact advising as if you were a current student. So I think that's an awesome resource that we have. And one program. Yes, so for engineering, so we do have a program where if you would like to, you can apply to grad school your junior or senior year and get your master's degree in 5 years. So that's called, I forget the exact wording, it's like &1 or +1 or something, but essentially if you are an engineering student, and there's also a handful of programs in arts and sciences where you know you want to get your master's degree, like for example, Carter Sylvie, right now, he is finishing up his master's degree in his 5th year at Tufts. He just got his like Bachelor of Science last year in engineering, but he wanted to get his master's in engineering. So he applied senior year, got in, and is now finishing his master's just 1 year later. So that is an option for our engineers as well. Sorry, that was a really hodgepodge response, but this is also on our website. I'm so sorry. Oh, also a good question, Daniel, coming in hot with good questions. Okay, what can set your application apart from others because we are a selective school? There's no one thing, which I know that's so unsatisfying, but it's like, I think that students where I can picture who they are after reading their application, like their voice is coming through very focused and very strong in their personal statement or their Tufts specific questions, or for their Tufts specific questions, one of which is why Tufts, like why do you want to come to Tufts? If it's specific to them in terms of how they're going to utilize our resources to kind of help them in their college trajectory, I don't know, those like really well thought out ones that are also just true to your voice really do stand out. Like I had one student, he wrote one of his Tufts specific questions in Java. So we literally had to run the code in order to get the answer to the prompt, and ended up being this really cute survey about like liking our mascot, Jumbo the elephant. And then we also have students who do, we have this one student who wrote this beautiful like stream of conscious essay that if anyone else had done it, it would not have worked. But because that was that student's voice and internal musings, it worked beautifully. And it was like tied to the piano and like thinking about the universe, and it got philosophical. And like, yes, this kid was applying to engineering, but it was just, oh, it was so good. I think that was literally 4 years ago. Like that's how much it has stuck with me. No, he didn't come to Tufts, so sad, but He's thriving somewhere. Can you submit research papers done in high school? What I would recommend that you do, because one, I will probably not understand the research because my degrees are in education and architecture. I would recommend that you instead do an abstract. Like you should have an abstract if you have done a research paper, but if you submit that to the admissions office, then they can just easily attach that to your application and we can read through it quickly to kind of get an idea of what you're researching. So an abstract is the way to go. Oh, great question, Ashley. So what academic and mental health support services are available on campus? So many things. So the first center, okay, because I have 5 minutes left. Okay, so I'm gonna say a lot of things quickly and then just write this down and then go online and look at these offices. So the STAR Center is the main place where you're going to get academic support and support for any learning disabilities or any accommodations that you need for your learning. So if any of you are on an IEP or a 504 in high school, those things do not exist at the college level. And you as a college student will need to go out to academic support services to actually get the accommodations you need. So that's kind of a big difference from high school. So for us, it's called the STAR Center, STAAR. It's a new acronym. Do I know what it stands for? Maybe Student Advising and Academic Resource Center. I don't know. So it's something like that. So STAR Center. And then for mental health support services, we have CMHS, which is our counseling and mental health services. They have free walk-in times for students. They have a counselor on call 24/7. We have different discussion-based groups. So some of them are in different languages. So if you're more comfortable talking to a therapist in Spanish or Mandarin, that's available to you. We have specific groups tied to our identity-based resource centers with counselors. So for example, our Black men and women's groups, there's a group for specifically our trans and non-binary students on campus. There's a women's collective as well. So there's discussion like group settings, but then also ties to specific counseling sessions that you can get. And if you are a trans student specifically, we have specific experts on our campus who are very good at helping you navigate healthcare, specifically related to if you end up transitioning in college. So just know there's so many resources. They're wonderful humans. So check it out. CMHS STAR Center, STAAR. I just talked for so long. Okay. Ooh, architecture. Yes. Okay. So Anna likes architecture. She hasn't taken classes for architectural civil engineering. Do I have any insight to share from being an architecture major? I like it because I was a visual learner and I didn't like writing papers. Is that a good enough reason to major in something? But like, I really enjoyed presenting my work. Like I got really good presentation skills because you do have to stand in front of like crit panel, so like get critiques from working professionals and you're like, man, I just learned how to like glue chipboard together and like talk to these people who've been working in the profession for 20 years, like talk about a humbling experience. But I just really liked visual learning and I liked collaborative learning, and architecture fit in really well for that. I would recommend just talking to current students. So again, most programs at most schools will have many students for you to talk to. And again, at a school like Tufts, you come in undecided. We know most people won't take architecture, civil engineering, electrical engineering classes in high school. So we help you figure it out with a pre-major advisor as well. Boop, boop, boop. Why can't I do this? Dismiss. Yes, study abroad outside of our French campus. Yes, so we have over 150 pre-approved programs. Half of our junior class goes abroad every single year, super common on our campus. So if you are someone who wants to go abroad, yes, you can do it. Even if you're an engineer, we have very specific programs, especially in Hong Kong and London, that are really phenomenal for our engineers. So yes, many. They're asked, do we have an MBA program? No, unfortunately not, but we do have an entrepreneurship minor, and a lot of students will end up going on to create their own startups, tech companies, whatever, after graduation. And we have this really cool thing called the 100K New Ventures competition. So if you have a plan, like a business plan, and you and your friends want to pitch it, you can do that at the 100K New Ventures competition. And if you win your section, you get a slice of the $100,000. So I would check that out. For extracurriculars, what we specifically look at is just how you spend your time outside of school. So that is very different for person to person. I would say for me, the story that I get from reading through your extracurriculars is helpful in that it helps me imagine you scurrying from class to class to class. And then I'm like, oh, but that ends at 2:30. What does the rest of the day look like? So maybe you're at home babysitting your 2-year-old little sister. Maybe you are the head of the school paper. Maybe you have a part-time job at a grocery store like I did. There's so many different things. So just write it down and just know that, one, there's only 10 spots on the Common App and Coalition to write in your extracurriculars. And two, like, stay true to yourself in writing those. Like, do things that make you happy and don't feel a pressure to join extracurriculars just to make it look good to the college, because it's just like you spending your time. Yay. Oh, email. Sorry, I'm going to put that in the chat. Thanks, friends, for joining. Okay, Anna popped up, so I'm going to stop talking now.
Well, thank you so much. This was so fun to hear everyone's questions. When you go to close this window, there will be a link to a very quick 4-question survey, and we'd appreciate any feedback you can provide. Also, this is just one of many sessions being hosted, so be sure to sign up for additional sessions. And in about a week, you'll be able to find this session's recording, as well as all of the other sessions recordings at strivescan.com/cache. So thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of your evening. Bye.